I've seen Temple from many different vantage points. I've been at Temple now 41 years. I love Temple. Originally I came from the West Coast. I grew up on the West Coast. I thought that I would be here at Temple 3 years and then see what I'm going to do. Fell in love with the place. What I fell in love with is I love the fact that Temple University is Philadelphia's public university. I want to say that again. Temple University is Philadelphia's public university. I love that. I love the fact that Temple University is located in Philadelphia, and specifically in North Philadelphia. Your question about how's Temple doing? Our enrollments are booming right now. They are booming. We just passed the 40,000 mark. We now have 40,240 students at Temple University. And now those are all college students. We also have other students who are kind of pre-college, like intensive English language programs, things like that. But for our student body, we have 40,240. That's not counting the students we have in Tokyo, Japan. We have a campus in Tokyo, Japan. We have a campus in Rome.
Is this the highest ever?
Yes, this is the highest ever. And that, one thing I'm really proud of is the fact that right now the applications to be a first-year student, a freshman at Temple University, this past year we had the highest ever number of applications, 39,500. And we had a class of, they were applying for a class of 5,100 freshmen. In terms of enrollments, things are going very, very well. And with that comes challenges. The challenges in terms of space, in terms of how do you service all those students. But we're very proud of our enrollment picture right now. We need to look at how we want to stabilize that, at what level, and what student body do we want to have when we look long-term future.
Do you have a cap or that?
No, we do not have a cap. Some programs have caps just out of necessity. For example, a program that has laboratories, right, and you have X number of laboratories, or an art program or a music program where you only have so many seats, those would have caps. Other programs don't have caps. So when we look at the entire student body of Temple University, excuse me, highest ever, and the highest number of applications for our freshman class ever. Temple University also is very strong in terms of research. Our research has been so good that we are now in the top tier of research institutions. There's an independent group called the Carnegie, and Carnegie does a system of rating different institutions, and we're considered Research 1, R1, and that's about 103 institutions. In Pennsylvania, there are only 5 Research 1 institutions: Temple, Penn State, Pitt, Carnegie Mellon, and Penn. Those are the 5 Research 1. So we're in very, very good company as a research institution. And I'm especially proud to be able to say that there is a national ranking of institutions through Google, and it's called a Google Citations ranking. You should go on it and check it out. But the most recent ranking has us, and what they do, I should explain, they look at how often are the faculty of an institution cited by scholars. In other words, who do scholars go to when they're doing their scholarship, when they're doing their research? Who do scholars go to? Temple University in the world, ranked number 21. We're so proud of that. Number 21 in the world. Very proud of our research. Very proud of our research in terms of what we're doing in terms of concussions. We have some great research from the Department of Defense looking at concussions of our military personnel in the field, and concussions of student athletes and athletes, including our student athletes. Research on materials to protect our troops in the field. Research in terms of opioid addiction. Research in terms of HIV. We literally are at the forefront of HIV gene splitting and cutting, and actually it's something that's going to ultimately to various trials to look at a way to address HIV. Our medical research is outstanding. Our scientific research is outstanding. Overall, we have expenditures of around $250 million a year on research, which puts us in that top tier. One of the reasons I've stayed at Temple so much is because of its values. Our values are very simple. Affordability, accessibility, diversity, high quality education and research, and community engagement. I am very enthusiastic and have been about the community engagement that Temple University is engaged in, and does not always get all the credit for what the university does. Let me just explain. We have a hospital, Temple University Hospital, which is, by the way, effectively the public hospital for Philadelphia. Philadelphia is the largest city without a public hospital. We're the de facto public hospital. Why? We have a Medicaid population of around 48%. We have a Medicare population of around 38%. That means 86% government programs. So one way in which we interact with the community is through our health system and the charity care that we give. Last year, $60 million of our hospital care, $60 million went as charity care. That comes in at a price, at an expense. Our Temple University Hospital, for example, last year ran a deficit of $5.7 million. We don't have the payer mix. We don't have the big payers that some hospitals do. Why? Because we're the public hospital of Philadelphia, and we're proud of that. Now, we have an entire health system, and our Temple University Hospital is part of that health system. The health system actually broke even, just barely broke even this past year. But our Temple University Hospital ran that deficit primarily because it engages in the charity care that has been part and parcel of its role since its beginning. We also, just talking about the medical side, our dental care, about $1.5 million last year of free dental care to people in North Philadelphia. Our programs, we have some 300 programs in working with our community. We have great community people, and community engagement is one of our priorities. So now coming back to your question of how do you engage in that? Growth sometimes brings challenges. One of the challenges, without a doubt, is when you have 40,000 students, and we have a number of students living on campus, but we also have a number of students living near campus. And when you have a number of students living near campus, college-age students, the vast majority of them are great students, very respectful, but sometimes through student parties or through student noise or through whatever, students where they're living get a little rambunctious. And therefore, what we need to continue to do, and we have a good neighbor policy that we have all of our students sign up for, but our good neighbor policy especially focuses on, look at how can students interact well with the neighborhood. But that sometimes brings tensions.
Right.
It sometimes brings tensions, and understandable. Young kids sometimes need to grow and sometimes need to learn patterns of behavior. So that becomes a challenge without a doubt. In terms of our actual space, we have done a lot of development over the past few years, and that development has all been on our footprint. For example, a new science building, outstanding new science building, which we built on our footprint right next to, I don't know if any of you are familiar with our campus, but right next to our liberal arts area and our engineering. We're right now building a state-of-the-art library, wonderful library facility. That'll be open probably early 2019, thereabouts.
Have you met with community leaders about concerns about encroachment in terms of the community?
We meet with community leaders constantly.
Mm-hmm.
Constantly.
How do you deal with the concerns of that expanding footprint?
Yeah.
You know, there have been some references to that area being called Templetown. I think you've heard that term before.
Absolutely.
Okay. So how do you address those concerns that Temple was just taking over the area?
Well, our footprint is not expanding,
Okay.
but where students live has expanded. There's
the
no doubt.
footprint's not expanding.
The footprint has not expanded at all. Our footprint has the only difference. Well, I'll just modify that. We did when we purchased the William Penn High School and put the fields there. Right. That did expand our footprint. So.
Right.
Yes, I was thinking of main campus and the boundaries of main campus. But yes, indeed, we did do that. And with that one, that to me is a good case in point. When we purchased that facility, and with the goal of putting fields there, and the fields that are there are two fields, one for our men's and women's soccer, and one for our women's field hockey and for women's lacrosse. And right across the street from Yorktown, we worked carefully with the neighbors. We worked carefully with the neighbors throughout construction. We were doing all kinds of things in terms of car cleaning, in terms of helping with dust abatement. And one of the very important things is we've made the fields available to community members so that they could actually use the fields, the tracks, for example.
Right.
And that has been, I would say, a perfect melding of neighborhood, temple, and philanthropy, because philanthropy helped us to purchase the fields. We also have a partnership with the Laborers Union, which is also going to be putting a training site on that site. Yep, on that site, and that I think is going to be an excellent addition to North Philadelphia. So that one I think is really a great example of how things should go. Talk to neighbors ahead of time. Listen to their concerns, make certain we understand what community needs are, and then work from there. And I think that one's come out to be a very, very great project. Overall, I mean, we've been in North Philadelphia now, 130 years. Right. Our success in attracting students, our success in attracting faculty and staff members really depends upon our success in working closely with our immediate neighbors, because when the neighborhood thrives, Temple thrives. And we want our projects to help our neighbors thrive. We just built a facility, we call it the STAR facility. It's a student training and recreation facility at the corner of, right behind McGonigal Hall, if you know where it is,
yes.
Right near Leah Course, so right there. And there'll be an outside track that neighbors can still use. I mean, that was on our own footprint of the grass field that was there before. But in that facility, will be our some of our health professions programs, and athletics will also have a piece of that. But then we also made certain that we knew neighbors like walking the track, so that we still provide an outside track for neighbors. And so we try to listen. We try to make certain we're responsive. And it's in everybody's best interest if the university, the community are going hand in hand. So we've been listening to neighbors, and we've listened to all people involved there. Based on that, one of the things that if we were to go forward, that I would want to make certain we do is have not just a stadium, have a multi-purpose facility. A multi-purpose facility would include a stadium, but it would include classrooms, it would include research space. Remember I mentioned about concussions. We'd like to put concussion research right there. And it would include retail space that would actually front Broad Street. And so that retail space, just as in the case of the Leocora Center, spawning a number of retail opportunities there, we would like to see retail space providing a lot of great opportunities. So that's one point.
Right.
Rather than a stadium, a multi-purpose facility that has broad uses, including, sorry, let me just turn this off. My wife. Normally I'd say that takes priority, but I talked with her earlier, so that's one piece. The other things we've been hearing about are things such as the challenges of trash,
Right.
whether or not there's a stadium.
Right.
Students, if they eat a lot of pizza and have a lot of pizza boxes, suddenly those pizza boxes may appear on the street, and so on. Trash is an important issue regardless of whether or not there's a multi-purpose facility. But questions of traffic, questions of noise, we've been listening to neighbors about all of that. We've been having regular meetings with neighbors, both informally and formally, a group of neighbors that Vice President Bill Bergman has been working with. And if we were to move forward, I would insist that first we have a plan for dealing with quality of life issues for the neighbors. That is a must, a plan for how to manage that before we move forward, if we wanted to move forward.
When will a decision be made on that?
Well, we're still working on that right now, but we've done a number of analyses.
Right.
We've done financial analyses, but we've also done analyses listening to our neighbors and looking. So right now we're building that. I'd like to see that in the not too distant future. I hate putting timelines that, if they get slipped and suddenly everybody's excited. I would rather say that to me is very important. In order to move anything forward, I would want to be satisfied that we have a really good plan for dealing with trash, for dealing with noise, for dealing with the traffic, etc. So that's definitely, we need that going forward. And I recall when, having been there 41 years, I guess I recall a lot of things, but I recall when we went forward with the Leocora Center. And the Leocora Center, at the time, there were questions of, why would we build a center like that? Is it just a basketball facility? Turned out not to be just a basketball facility. It is a multi-purpose facility that has lots of opportunities for community use, just as I would hope that a multi-purpose facility that, if we were to build one, would have opportunities for community use and for helping community with many of the challenges that community have. And so the Leocora Center questions about noise, questions about trash, questions about traffic, about parking, and we listened, and we tried to address those. Now, more than 20 some years since groundbreaking, I think it's been a home run for North Philadelphia. It's been like a signature development for the North Philadelphia, and part of what I would say is a ongoing North Philadelphia renaissance that is not just Temple, but other up and down North Broad. And I would hope that if we were to move forward with a multi-purpose facility, that it would have the same kinds of really transformative effect in the best sense of the words, really contributing to North Philadelphia. For us, we pride ourselves in the fact that we have some 760 plus full-time employees who are residents of the adjoining zip codes. We pride ourselves on the fact that we have a great center for social policy and community development that is concerned with workforce development. We pride ourselves on our small business development center that helps local entities look at and develop concepts for new businesses. We pride ourselves on a number of what I think are very, very important services, not only to Philadelphia, but to North Philadelphia specifically. We do you're probably familiar or heard of eConsult, which does the economic analysis, economic impact. Our economic impact on Philadelphia is in the range of $5 billion a year. That's a major impact. Somewhere in the neighborhood of 28,500 jobs in Philadelphia. How do those come about? Well, when you bring 40,000 students to Temple, they have to buy goods and services. They have to find housing. They have to do all kinds of things. All that contributes to the overall economy, and that's the kind of analysis that's done. It's second and third and fourth order kinds of analysis. But one of the reasons I've stayed at Temple 41 years is because of these kinds of things. We're not perfect by any means, but I think we are, and I insist on that we continue to be a good neighbor. And we need to be a good neighbor in North Philadelphia. We need to be a good neighbor for Philadelphia. In the very practical sense, students come to Temple because of its location. We've found that out time and time again. We have found students who've had the opportunity to go to Ambler campus or come to main campus. No brainer. They come to main campus. They like the vitality, they like the vibrance, they like the location in North Philadelphia, they like being in Philadelphia. Years ago we had a decision we had to make, and I was involved in that too because I've been here so long, which is we had an art school, our Tyler School of Art, top-notch art school. I mean, we're talking about top 10 programs in the country. And it was located 5 miles north outside the city. It was kind of like a little artist colony. And we had to make a decision just because of condition of facilities, infrastructure. We had to make a decision, do we invest there or do we bring them to main campus? The decision was bring them to main campus. At the time, universally, the people up there said, don't move us. We're happy. We're very happy. Vice President Bergman was actually up there one time and saw firsthand how excited people were. But it was a no-brainer decision. Why not bring them to main campus, have the vibrancy of Philadelphia? And we did, and now it's a home run. It's a home run in everybody's eyes. I don't know if you've ever been to our art school.
No, I haven't.
Oh, please come. Please come and visit. Walk the halls, and you see kids glass blowing. You see design projects up. You got painting, sculpture, all the things that I'm not good at. But I leave my office sometimes, leave my meetings, just so I can walk there and just breathe the creativity, the innovation that's going on there. But there was opposition at that time to doing that. But once people were in Philadelphia, love it. You could not, I mean, if we had a decision that should we move the art school out, absolutely not. They love it here. It's wonderful. And we're joined like this with Philadelphia, with North Philadelphia, and we want Philadelphia to prosper. We want North Philadelphia to prosper. That helps Temple to prosper. I believe that firmly, and that's what it's about.
All right.
Can you talk a little bit about working with Provost Epps?
She's one of my favorite people. She's also been at Temple, not quite as long as I have been, but she is, first of all, she is a intellectual giant, absolute intellectual giant, and absolutely personable. Love working with her. When we do our financial analysis and financial projections, it's clear to me that if we were to have a multi-purpose facility on campus where we could play on our campus, it's very clear that financially it would work very nicely for Temple. It's also, and this is part of the analysis we're continuing to do, but one of the things I always want to question is, does it also provide an opportunity for new people to be introduced to Temple University? And that's one of the questions I want to answer as we go through this. But I went to Notre Dame at the end of August, beginning of September. We were playing Notre Dame at Notre Dame. When I went to Notre Dame, I walked around the campus. I want Notre Dame to walk our campus. Now, whether or not a multi-purpose facility is the way to do it is always the question, but Notre Dame should walk our campus. I want UCLA to walk our campus. I want every great institution, and I'm including our institution as a great institution, but I want every great institution to walk our campus. Why? Because we found with the Leocora Center that when people walk on the campus and walk around and see the amazing things that are going on at Temple University on its campus, it creates in their minds a very clear picture of the outstanding quality of Temple University, the outstanding quality of North Philadelphia, and the outstanding quality of Philadelphia, being able to see it from that vantage point.
Anna, that was placed in one of your newer dorms. What measures are in place to ensure that students feel safe going to class, going to their dorm rooms, and not feeling pressured because they're in a minority group or they're a woman? Or what measures do you have in place to keep the students kind of safe?
That is something, first and foremost to me. Even from the academic perspective, people cannot study if they don't feel safe and if they don't feel the campus is a welcoming campus. So we have to take measures continuously to make our campus welcoming for people. That incident, Bill can talk about it, but that incident, what we do is, number one, we put the message out. So we're very transparent. When something happens, we let people know. Secondly, we have support mechanisms within our residence halls, in this case it was residence hall, and within our student affairs operation. Outstanding dean of students, outstanding vice president for student affairs, and they immediately go to the scene and work with the students who need to be worked with. Where needed, in this case, I mean, I don't want to get into specific cases, but just where needed, disciplinary actions. And we hired a judge former judge, forget the name, but to preside over certain disciplinary cases. That's a serious matter for us always, and that's one where we always want to be both proactive. The campus is very welcoming, I think, and unlike some campuses, I think generally speaking, we can be proud of what the students do and how they interact with each other, but it's never enough.
And I think you already answered the one about campus, exterior campus safety. Someone asked from
Yeah.
Twitter, you know, someone got robbed and they wanted to know what are you doing to keep students safe
Good.
For
Good
those
point.
who live on the parameters. And you kind of touched on that,
Yeah.
but if you could just kind of direct
Sure.
this.
We've expanded, as students have expanded, we've also expanded our police presence very strongly. Our police are great. They know about parties sometimes before students know about parties because they monitor social media and all that, do things that I don't know how to do. And so they're also, they're very anticipatory in terms of, so strong police presence, but also strong follow-up in terms of assisting if there is somebody who's a victim of a crime. Strong follow-up, strong support.
So should they be going to local law enforcement or should they be going to campus police or a combination of the two if they are, like, in this
Well,
case, robbed at gunpoint?
First and foremost, a person should do what he or she feels most comfortable doing.
Okay.
Our police work very closely with the Philadelphia police, with the Philadelphia district attorney, and as our vice president just said, in this case, this was actually turned over to the DA, and then the DA made it a determination, so it wasn't just us making a determination, the DA made a determination. But we want to make it comfortable for students to report any kinds of crimes that they either witness or are victims of, and whatever the student is most comfortable doing. But we've expanded our satellite office. There's a satellite office now on CB Moore between Broad and 15th, CB Moore, and that is another way to create a little presence. That police presence also supports community members and responds to community members.